Hello, everyone, and welcome to the FIF podcast. I am your
Whoa,
host,
whoa, whoa, whoa,
Nicholas.
whoa. What are you doing?
Connor, I'm trying to host a podcast here. Can you?
Nick, just step aside. I'm back. Okay, you can stick on for the next hour, but you are not hosting it after the last couple of weeks. Appreciate your help, but yeah,
Unbelievable.
I'm back now, so you can take a back seat. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Hello and welcome to the Forza Italian Football Podcast. I am your regular host, Conor Clancy. I am back. You will be delighted you don't have to listen to Nicholas Carroll for an hour straight. We'll try and keep him as quiet as possible after we get through the Derby stuff. I promise you. So you already know Nicholas Carroll is joining me. Nick, welcome along.
Well, I'm not sure about the welcome, but it's good to always be talking Italian football. So let's get into it.
Yeah, and I think this is a hat trick for our next. That's 3 in a row. Caterina, Mirra, you must be happy after the weekend's results.
Yeah, really happy about all the results, and happy to be there with you again. The first time with you. So not having Nick.
It's good to have you along, but I think I'm the only one on the podcast that's not too happy with the weekend's results this week. But and someone who's benefiting from my suffering is Vito Doria. Vito, welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Connor. I mean, obviously I send my commiserations, but I'm obviously delighted with the outcome of this week's results, and the round in general was a very exciting one. So I'm looking forward to talking about it with all you guys.
Yeah, well said. And to be fair, based on that second half performance, Samp were good value for their win despite what happened in the first half. So I guess there's only one place to start really, and that is with the big one. Sampdoria beat Atalanta 3-1.
Oh, whoa. Is this a joke?
Obviously, that's a joke. I have to get my first one in early, guys. Come on, it's been nearly a month since I've been here. Yeah, the Derby della Madonnina, isn't it? Inter won 3-2. What a game, guys. The Derby is nearly back, isn't it? But that was brilliant. That was really stunning. Nick, you're the only person that we can go to first here, really. Mauro Icardi did what Mauro Icardi does. I think he had 4 shots in the whole game, 3 goals, and he was decisive. Sing his praises.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch those goals, there's not really much more you can say. Words kind of don't do it justice. A pure striker's finish for the first goal. The second one, just unbelievable.
Complete miss hit.
Very close to orgasmic, I have to say. But just, there's not many strikers in the world that can do what he did yesterday. And then obviously a penalty for the last one. But yeah, you kind of alluded to it there with how many shots he had. But when you compare him to even any of the top strikers in Europe, he has generally less shots per game than all of them. Falcao, Messi, Dybala, Aubameyang, whoever it is, he has less shots, but yet he scored 9 goals already for the season. In terms of out-and-out finishes, you have to say he's up there with the best. Top 3, I would have to say, maybe a bit biased. But do you want me to talk about Icardi or just talk about the match?
No, stick with Icardi for now. We'll move on to other things in a couple of minutes. But he is, I know I kind of wind you up about Icardi for as long as I've known you, really. But all joking aside, I put this out on Twitter. He is one of Europe's elite centre forwards now, isn't he? It's not hyperbole to say that he is one of the best number 9s in the world.
Yeah, 100%. And you have to think that the only reason he probably isn't mentioned in the same light as some of the bigger stars in the Premier League or La Liga is purely the fact that Inter isn't representing on a weekly basis, not only in Europe, but in the Champions League, obviously. And then he hasn't been playing international football either. So which is another whole thing. A striker of his ability and his form struggles so hard to get any minutes for Argentina. So yeah, you have to think if he was playing Europe and international football on a common basis, he would be mentioned up in those same lights. So you would hope, well, Inter fans might hope, and Argentina as well, that in the next season or two, he'll actually be acknowledged for the talent that he is, because he's incredible.
It's good to see Jax is still involved in the comments. He's come in with his top 3 strikers in Europe: Lewandowski 1, Suarez 2, and Icardi 3. I probably agree with that generally, but this season, probably swap Icardi for Suarez because he's not been doing too well for Barcelona. Kath, I'll bring you in. Do you think that it's fair to say Icardi has a bit of a divisive personality? He's a bit of a dick. Do you think that plays a part in people not rating him as highly as he perhaps should be rated for his football ability?
Yeah, maybe at the start, when you start with Inter, maybe the first period was this film Italians, or for the girls, Italian girls of the episode that happened. But yeah, now I don't think of that. I'm thinking about maybe the Argentina that coach that I remember said that his attitude was not right for the national team, and so he kept it away. But I mean, now it's not important. He's one of the best in Serie A, and he showed it yesterday. So
yeah, I would agree with that. I watched both of their international games last week, and they drew 0-0 with Peru in a game that it looked like they needed to win. Turns out they didn't, because they made it anyway. But I was just calling out for Icardi to come on.
Yeah.
He's the type of player that it doesn't matter if you're not creating too many chances, because as we saw on Saturday night or Sunday night, whenever it was, he only needs one and he will put it away. But Vito, you've been sitting quietly there for a while. I think we'll move on from Icardi, and myself and Nick were messaging back and forth during the game, and one thing we said was Borja Valero he quietly bossed that game. I think he has that cool head that is really needed in a game like that. Vito, I don't know, I'd be interested to get other people's opinions, because I didn't see anyone else talking about Valero really. What did you make of his performance?
I wouldn't say it was vintage Valero in my view, but I still thought he had a good game, and that his touches on the ball were still superb. He's got that grace on the ball, as well as that creativity that I still believe that Inter are still missing. So the more that he can get involved in the game, the more that Inter can create chances. Otherwise, they have to be more reliant on wing play.
Yeah, well, Nick, I'll throw that over to you then, because you were impressed with Borja the other night, and his impact this season really has been felt quite strongly. I can't remember who it was against, but I watched them once, and I thought he looked a shadow of himself. But thankfully, that seems to be just one performance. How important is he to this Inter team as a whole?
Yeah, he's certainly got a job to play for Luciano Spalletti. He's been a key factor in that kind of midfield trio that they've got there, kind of substituting in between Vecino, Roberto Gagliardini, and then you've got João Mario, of course, who was a late withdrawal from the match. So that did put pressure on the 3 midfielders, and I thought he was the standout. I think Vito had a key point there, that Inter historically, and even now, are very reliant on the wingers getting those crosses into Icardi, and Borja Valero, just his presence in that central third, let's say, it's so important for not only giving the wide men more space, but he when he takes on the line, he really looks like he can create something. So yesterday, I thought it wasn't a perfect game by any means, but I think he was one of Inter's best. Vecino and Gagliardini I wasn't overly impressed with. I thought they went missing on occasions. But there was some hesitancy about his Borja Valero's transfer given his age, but I think his experience is invaluable to this team for the next couple of seasons.
Yeah, you made a good point there, and I don't think it's just from the wings that they're reliant on getting the ball into Icardi. It's from anywhere, and one thing he can do really well is pick a pass, so he doesn't even need to be drifting out wide to play those balls into Icardi. Caterina, I'll bring you back. Luciano Spalletti is doing quite a good job at the San Siro so far this year. His impact is really being felt probably earlier than a lot of us might have expected, but they can seriously, well, at the moment, they're second, I think, 2 points behind Napoli. Can they challenge for the Scudetto this season?
Well, for the Scudetto, I don't know at the moment.
We're making Nick nervous, I think.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about that.
Nick, go get a drink and let us have that.
For a Champions League spot, for sure, yeah. They are probably not, I don't know, not really beautiful to watch, or I believe Spalletti is not focusing on the good football, more on the good result. He's going always to the point to make the result, as we have seen last year in Rome as well. They were playing was not astonishing, was not brilliant, but they finished at second place. So now with all the new players, he's trying probably to work more on the weak points, like in the defense and the consistency. But they made a really good job yesterday, so they deserve to win the derby.
Yeah, completely agree with that. I actually wrote early on in the season that, well, not at that early, maybe about a month ago now, that Inter can compete next year. This year, they might be able to, but they shouldn't even be thinking about it. They should be concentrating on getting into that Champions League. Even if they're second in, I don't know, February, be happy with being in a position to get the Champions League and maybe start thinking about the Scudetto by the end of March. Nick, you don't want us talking about Inter and Scudetto, but what do you think? Because they don't need to be playing pretty football to win the Scudetto, as we've seen with Juventus. They've not always played brilliant stuff. They just win.
Yeah, that's true. But actually, there's just been a commenter on YouTube, and he kind of almost answers the question for it. While going into last night,
Nagatomo, which
we're still playing with Nagatomo on the left, and as Cameron rightly points out, Inter's basically one injury away from playing Andrea Ranocchia as a centre back. While it's great the run that they're going on and the improvement is massive, the defense is just not a title-winning defense, and you can't rely on that kind of defense, in my opinion, to get them through 38 rounds. It's one thing that falls into Inter's favour is obviously not playing European football, so that enables them to possibly get by a bit longer. But I think down the track it'll catch up to them, and I think the better defenses, Juventus and Napoli. Napoli, particularly Albiol and Koulibaly, have been in incredible form. I think they're going to rise to they're already at the top, but pull away at the top. So, it's nice to say, but as you mentioned, Connor, Inter needs to focus on getting a Champions League spot, and they shouldn't be looking at anything above that.
Yeah, as impressive as Skriniar surprisingly has been this season, it is kind of amusing that they are only an injury away from playing the Premier League superstar Andrea Ranocchia. But Vito, you're coming back because we've spoken about VAR a bit this season. I have a bit of a bee in my bonnet here, right? Because the penalty decision yesterday is one thing. I'm not necessarily going to say that it wasn't a penalty. There was contact, debatable. But if VAR exists, you have to consult it for a decision like that. You've given a penalty in possibly the biggest game of the season so far in the last minute of the game. Nick, I know you're itching to get in. I will come to you. But surely, given what we've seen VAR being consulted for before, like nonsense decisions that are as clear as day, for it to not be given or not to be consulted for a decision like this, surely it doesn't make any sense. Vito, thoughts?
I reckon if they did go to the VAR technology, it would have given greater validation for the penalty. I'm personally a big advocate for it, and I think that it really serves its purpose because it brings greater accountability to refereeing decisions. And in this case, I believe, I think it would have done well to bring greater assurance. As for the specific incident, I felt that Rodriguez should not have had his hands on Danilo D'Ambrosio, and D'Ambrosio, I wouldn't say he was being dirty or he was exaggerating, but just the way he turned his body or contorted his body, I think it made it easier for the referee to give the penalty on the first look.
Nick?
These kind of questions, Connor, I have to say, it does really bother me. It annoys me because with VAR every week, and like Vito, I make no secret of being a supporter of the system, but every week, non-stop, if there's always incidents where they're saying, well, why are they using it there? Why are they using it there? It's taking too much time. It's taking too much time from the game. There's too many instances where it's used. Referees need to back themselves. And then on the other hand, now we get a referee that makes a call that backs himself with a decision. And then we get the other side of it saying, well, why he's got VAR there. Why doesn't he use it? Like, it's either way, people are going to complain, and it just really pisses me off.
No, I see that, and generally I am in favor of it as well because it will eliminate wrong decisions. So then what I'm trying to get across is this is the biggest decision that has been made in Serie A all season. If you are so confident as the referee that you got it right, go to VAR and prove everyone wrong, because there was controversy at the time. It was probably a penalty, but there was controversy. So just prove it to people. Go, here you go. Here's the video. 30 seconds. There's the foul.
But you're saying a referee that got the call right should have got backed up by it. Like, that doesn't make sense. I'm not
disputing the decision. I'm disputing the use of VAR, its inconsistencies, and its inconsistencies in its implementation are why people are pissed off by it.
Yeah, but that's the thing. And this is the inconsistency comes, if anything, and I agree with you, but it's from the inconsistencies come from referees not backing themselves and going to VAR too much. And this is the thing that I'm saying. Just because I don't care what situation it's in, a referee needs to call something as he sees it, whether it's a Milan derby, whether it's Verona against Benevento. It doesn't matter for me. They should apply the same rules. It shouldn't be subjective as to what circumstances you use it. It should be, if they're confident on a call, that's it. If they're not confident and they want to go to VAR, that's when they go to it, and that should be it. So I don't get the controversy. I don't get the talk, and yeah, I'm not a fan. Okay. I'm a fan of VAR.
Right, we need to move on, not to the next game, because there is an elephant in the room, and it is Vincenzo Montella. Kat, Nick, I know you did a video on this already, which you might get some thoughts on, but first, Kat, should he be sacked, or is it way, way too early in the season?
That's a good question. The thing is that his choices yesterday, especially after the off time, were right. And so he made the desired effect to the team. It was a good choice to put Cassie off, and also to put Cutrone in. It changed the game. But on the other hand, if the third consecutive loss and 4-game loss in 8 games is not a good result. I believe that maybe he's still finding the right man to put in. Sometimes I feel that he's so insecure to make the right choices that probably he's leading this to the team, and the team could feel it. So I believe that yesterday Milan played well, especially on the second half. But if they're not gonna win against Genoa, maybe something could happen, because they always have missed the big games. And we have seen with the Napoli and also against Lazio, for example, but with the little or in Europe, in Europa League, they're doing great. So they need to find the consistency, and Montella is working on that. They're still playing good, but they're missing too much big games and too much points. So
yeah, there's obviously been some problems, but Nick, I'll bring you in because he did the video. He's been given 11 new players this year. He's got the second or third youngest squad in all of Europe's top 5 leagues or something like that. He's got a whole new squad. What was it? 10 of these players that started a game recently were at different clubs last season.
Yeah, against Rome at the start.
There are problems, but one of the things we've called for with Inter in recent seasons has been just stick with one coach and give him the chance. And Montella did a good job with Milan last year. So personally, I think it'd be madness to let him go this early. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. As I said in the video, if you haven't watched it, head over to the YouTube channel, give it a watch. It's good stuff. It's madness because Inter have provided the perfect illustration of what happens when instability becomes the norm, and it's frustrating to see. And I'm not saying Montella's perfect, and I certainly don't agree with a lot of his decisions. We were speaking yesterday, Conor, about Fabio Borini, about how he's playing in the Derby. Like, I can't answer that question, but the thing is, he got them to Europe last season with a squad that probably didn't deserve to be there. From the squad he had to the squad he has now, it's not just new players, but he's had to completely change the way this team is playing. They've gone from basically a counter-attacking team with not really much possession to a team that's trying to dominate games. It's a completely different game, and it's going to take time. Added more so when you add in all the new players. So, yes, there are problems. Yes, he hasn't made all the right decisions, but I think there's getting there. There's potential, and as Kat mentioned, he showed he's got that adaptability. Yesterday in the Milan derby at halftime, he made some good choices, and it made a huge difference, and it almost grabbed them a result. So, I don't think Milan can be too annoyed or angry at yesterday's result, given both teams' form. So they've got to stick with it, I think, at least till January. January.
I think it's worth probably saying as well that he never really planned on playing this system, did he? Because he always went on 4 at the back last season, and then all of a sudden, it's like they didn't really plan on signing Bonucci, but then found out he was available. And when he's available and he doesn't want to leave Italy, you have to sign him if you're one of those top clubs. And when you sign Bonucci, you've kind of got to play a back 3 because that's what he does. So, yeah, I think give Montella time, give him till Christmas, and then reevaluate the situation. Personally, I think he should just be given this season. It's Milan's first year as they are. I know the Chinese owners might get frustrated, but he needs the time to develop, because where do they go otherwise? They could get Conte in the summer or something, I guess, if he leaves Chelsea. But we've spent too long in the derby. I'm sick of it now. So move on to all of I think it's fair to say every single one of us, except for Kat, this is our second favorite club in Serie A this season, and that is Napoli. They are still top of the league. They beat Roma 1-0, which is a very un-Napoli score to win by. Vito, it's unusual for them to win a low-scoring game. So is this signs that they are capable of doing things that previously we thought they weren't capable of doing?
It showed that in a way that they could grind out a win, but it was different to say how Inter grinds out victories or how Juventus grinds out victories. Napoli still played the possession game, but in this case, there wasn't a great need for them to score 4 or 5 goals. Especially in the first half, I noticed that Napoli were just very happy to pass the ball around, and Roma just had too much trouble taking the ball off them. Even after half-time, when Roma created more chances or had more possession of the ball, it looked like Napoli was still better when they did not have possession anyway. So it showed that both offensively and defensively they were able to control the proceedings anyway.
Yeah, agreed. Nick, Diawara came off the bench. I think Zielinski and Marco Rog were the other two subs. Correct me if I'm wrong. But this shows that they have depth there this season. And it's kind of something that we've not really seen before with Napoli. What do you think? Is this extra depth going to serve them well going forward, especially if they progress in the Champions League, which is something we will discuss a little bit in a minute?
Yeah, 100%. That's the key thing. The Champions League, between them and Juventus, you can see that playing a big role as to who goes further and how that reflects on the Serie A. So those type of players, Diawara, and these are players, Diawara was actually keeping Jorginho out of the team for quite a bit of last season. So, and, you know, he was one of my standouts when they played Real Madrid. So these are quality players that are coming on in replacement. I think basically all three of them have very big futures. I'm got big raps on all three of those midfielders. So, and it's kind of almost good timing too with in terms of Mirra Hamsik, where, you know, he possibly doesn't have the legs to go 100% for the 90 minutes. So it gives him a good break as well, allows him to do a solid 65 to 70 minutes and then get the young players on and get them some experience as well. But it's not only just filling in, you know, time, they're actually contributing. And we've seen that time and time again, particularly from Peter Zielinski. So yeah, it's certainly the difference between Napoli 2 seasons ago when they were somewhat in a race with Juventus and Napoli now, when a lot of people like yourself and I, you know, have tipped them to actually win the title.
I think the celebrations after that game said a lot. It shows that they believe that they can actually win it this year. And we heard about the Scudetto Pact in the summer. Kath, they have a big game in the Champions League against Manchester City this week, which on paper has the potential to be the best game across Europe so far this season. But there's a lot of talk that they might rest a few players. What are your thoughts here? Would you be in favor of them resting players? They've got, I think it's Inter next weekend in Serie A. So should they just seriously prioritize Serie A this year?
Yeah, probably. At the moment, the aim is the Scudetto, and we cannot hide that. And Sarri today said that this will be the useless match of the season of the Champions League as well, because the Manchester City now is one of the best in Europe, and we cannot hide that. And the champions, I think, always bring a lot of enthusiasm between the supporters in Naples. So I believe that it's important to keep that for the enthusiasm, and I believe they are gonna fight for past the next round. But yes, we are prioritizing the Scudetto challenge, and tomorrow will be a good test. He probably will the lineup. I don't know, because Amsi is gonna play. Probably we'll start with Diawara, but Jorginho and Allan now are essential and are on fire. So if he wants to win, they will put all the 11.
Yeah, I'm actually just seeing now Sky Sport Italia are reporting that their starting 11 is going to be Reina, Husai, Kirikesh, Koulibaly, Goulam, Diawara, Rog, Hamsik, Callejon, Mertens, and Insigne. And there are a few changes there, but it's pretty strong. I mean, you've got Hamsik in that front three. So it looks like they're going to go for it.
Yeah. Obviously, with Inter on Saturday, we need to win both, and it will be tough. So yeah, he will make a little bit of changes. It's normal, and probably he will gonna fight maybe Napoli. It will be more simple in 2 weeks against Manchester City. So I don't know. Tomorrow will be really, really, really tough.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate that don't be scared. Come on, Napoli are good. It's unfortunate that it's fallen between games against Roma and Inter, because like you said, if it was in between games against Benevento and Hellas Verona, well then you could probably rest all of your players, including your second team, against Benevento and Verona and still get 6 from 6. Vito, I'm interested to get your thoughts on this. What do you think they should do? Because personally, I can't make up my mind what I think. On one hand, I'm like, yeah, just drop everyone. But then you don't want to get embarrassed in the Champions League, which could seriously happen against this Man City team, as Kat alluded to. So what do you think Sarri should do here?
If he's going to rest certain players, he's got to be shrewd with the choices. It is important that Napoli still has a strong enough team, because if Manchester City thrashes Napoli, the English press are going to have a field day, and they're going to rant on and spill all this rubbish, all these Italophobic comments. So Sarri's got a duty not just for Napoli, but also for Italian football. He's got to show that Italian football is back on the rise, and a team like Napoli is a reason for this belief. So I hope it's a competitive game, and with his choices, they just got to be the right ones. For instance, if it was up to me, I would still keep Allen and Jorginho, but I'd rest Hamsik because he's 30. And I'm pretty happy with Zielinski in midfield too. So he can chip in with some spectacular goals. So he would be one player. Kyrgios, well, on the basis of seeing Albiol last year against Real Madrid, he made some bad errors there. And I think Kyrgios, he adds a bit more going forward, especially in terms of playing the ball out from defence. And he can score from set pieces, Kyrgios. So at least if Napoli gets a few corners, Kyrgios is the type of guy that can go up and get a goal from a header or even a volley. So, yeah, it's really just about seeing which players fit in the best, so they're as competitive as possible and they can still maintain that style of play and keep that system working.
Yeah, definitely. I'm with you on not dropping but resting Hamsik as well, because he can't play 90 minutes. Nick mentioned it, but if you want to make money on the weekend, I'm not going to promote betting or anything, but put money on Hamsik being taken off between the 65th and the 75th minute, because every single week it happens without fail. So there you go. If you do win some money, send half of it my way. I think that's fair. One stat actually that I saw the weekend, Nick, you'll like this. It was Maurizio Sarri's 84th Serie A game in charge of Napoli, and Insigne's goal was the 200th they have scored. So what's that? 2.5 goals per game or something, which is just insane. I think goals are a guarantee on Tuesday or Wednesday night, whenever it happens. Right, we've spent ages on that game too, which we always get carried away talking about Napoli. We're not even going to mention Roma. We'll get to them next week. But there was another big game, guys, wasn't there? It was Juventus 1, Lazio 2. And talk about amazing endings in Serie A matches this weekend. I think this, for me, beats them all. Juventus went 1-0 up. Then Ciro Immobile turned it around with 2 goals. And Juventus got a penalty was literally the last kick of the game. And it was saved. And I can't remember who it was that followed in and got the rebound, but the whistle went literally as soon as Strakosha saved and turned it to the side. And the Lazio player just kicked the ball up, picked it up and booted it into this. It was amazing. It was like they had won something. It was unbelievable. But right, Kat, Lazio have beaten Juventus twice this season now. I know one of them was the Supercoppa and it doesn't really count that much, but still, psychologically, that is huge to beat Juve twice. But still, they're kind of overlooked. Vieri did something for us, and I just saw the tweet was like, Lazio Scudetto. Surely that's too far. Champions League is the aim for them, right?
Yeah. Scudetto is too far to say. Yeah, it's one of my favorite this year, Lazio. Because on the way of playing, it's always fun, and they only lost against Napoli in the big matches. So they are consistent, and against Milan, and they beat 2 times Juve. And Juve lost at home for the first time in 2 years, and that's an historic win for Lazio. And I believe the Serie A this year is being so fun, and the competitive is so great. So I believe the fight for the Champions League spot will be amazing this year. And also Inzaghi's work, he is doing great, and Immobile is now probably one of the best in Europe, maybe the best one. I don't remember how many goals he scored. 15?
He's got 11 this season, which is 2 more than Icardi.
Yeah.
That's for you, Nick.
And
right,
so,
Nick, you want to jump in on this then? Because we've spoken about Lazio a lot last season when they started to put this form together. And they lost Biglia in the summer, they lost Keita Balde, they lost Kandreva recently-ish as well, but they still just keep doing it. So what's Simone Inzaghi's secret? Because nobody saw this coming. Even Lazio, they tried to get rid of him, but ended up sticking with him.
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. How has Inzaghi turned this team around? A team that 2 seasons ago culturally was just a shambles. And I think one thing that we probably said a few times last season, Connor, was this is a squad that plays as a team. And I had concerns with those players that you mentioned leaving, particularly Lucas Biglia. But Lucas Leiva has filled in nicely. You know, he doesn't do anything too special, let's say, but he just fills in and does the basic stuff that probably goes unnoticed and allows those around him, the likes of Milinkovic-Savic, Parolo, and Luis Alberto, who is coming on in leaps and bounds this season. You know, Ciro Immobile is scoring the goals, but Alberto's certainly involved in a lot of the build-up play for many of their goals and general attacking moves. So, and not only that, but the defense is at times very solid. De Vrij leading that back three. They probably don't get as much credit as they should as well. So yeah, I guess it's just all across. They've kind of got a very solid outfit that's underestimated in all areas. I mean, even Ciro Immobile, with the goals he's putting out, he's not really classed in that high elite class of strikers, I guess you could say. So it's almost an underrated team of underrated players, but they're a team, and that's the key, and that's why they're so consistent, if not the most consistent team in Serie A.
Absolutely. Kat, I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought you had finished making your point, but back to Immobile, I guess, because his form is extra important beyond Lazio, because Italy have a big game coming up next month if they want to make it to Russia next year, and Andrea Belotti might not be back, and if he is, he probably won't be as fit as he would like. So is Immobile the man to lead Italy to the World Cup? Even if Belotti is back fit, should it kind of be built around Immobile given his form?
I hope so, yeah. And also because Immobile, I think it's that with Ventura, Immobile is not showing his best performances. And I don't know why. Insigne as well. We have seen it with Italy. Both of them are lacking of occasions. And so I don't know if Ventura try to change the module and try to also work more of both of them. Maybe he will be essential for Italy next year. So, and hope to get the qualification. Belotti as well is one of my favorites, but if he's not still back, I believe that Immobile will lead. Hope he will lead the national team.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, because given his recent form, he's definitely able to, whether it's a long-term thing or whether he's just having a good couple of years. I think he should be trusted next month, even if Belotti is back fit, because, I don't know, you don't want to rush Belotti back to match fitness for such a big game. Hello, Kieran, who's just joined us in the comments. Stephen, I'm not sure if you're doing it yourself, but your comments keep disappearing before I have the chance to read them. So, I don't know, I thought that was going to be a good question as well. I started to read it, but it disappeared. Vito, you have written for us a lot in the last, 18 months since Ventura took over about his Italy. What do you make of next month? Do you think Immobile should lead the line? What do you think?
Immobile has to lead the line simply because he scored more than any other Italian player in qualifying, or even out of the players from the other teams in Group G, he scored 6 or 7 goals. So even if he wasn't number one, he was right up there with the most prolific goal scorers in that group. So with that in mind, and also the fact that he's scoring prolifically for Lazio, I think he is the man to carry Italy's chances of getting to the World Cup next year. In saying that too, he can't do it all himself. He still needs support. And I think the main concern, more so than if Immobile should be the focal point or not, is who does Ventura pick as backup? Because I'm still convinced that Mario Balotelli has to be called in based on his form in Nice, and he's not having the off-field issues that he had 5-6 years ago. And also, I still believe that Simone Zaza has a chance of redemption because he's got 7 goals now in La Liga this season, and Valencia is second in La Liga. So I think he deserves a chance to get back in the national team too. So Immobile for number one, but have the right backup too, because guys like Manolo, Gabbiadini and Eder at this stage just don't cut it.
I'm really glad you mentioned Simone Zaza, actually. I don't want to spend too long on Italy, but he's been bloody brilliant for Valencia this season, and he is so harshly just completely disregarded because of one penalty. And he's actually been a decent striker whenever he's played regularly in Serie A. For Sassuolo, popped up with big moments for Juve. I'm sorry to mention that, but he should be given a chance. And that kind of answers Cameron's question there, which basically just asked, Immobile generally plays best with a second striker, Cerci with Torino last, Luis Alberto now. So I guess Zaza or Balotelli could potentially do that job for Italy. Nick, your mic has gone off mute. Did you want to jump in or?
No, I'm good.
No, you're happy enough. Okay, that's fine. Right, that's pretty much going to do it. We've just got one more game to quickly go through. It wouldn't be fair if we didn't talk about Sampdoria 3, Atalanta 1, because, guys, I'm not just saying, it was a bloody good game. Atalanta should have been about 4-0 up at halftime, missed too many chances, and then the second half, Gianpaolo made a couple of changes, and it was amazing. Linetti came on and changed the game, really. Vito, Linetti's been one of these players that hasn't really been spoken about too much for Samp, but what has he been bringing to the table?
Last season, he was starting a lot more under Gianpaolo, and Dennis Pratt, the Belgian starlet, he wasn't playing much. There was a lot of focus on Edgar Barreto playing as well. This season, Pratt has played more and Barreto has kept his team, but Linetti has usually been used as a sub. Unfortunately, there was the 4-0 loss to Udinese a fortnight ago, but it's proved to be a mixed blessing for both Samp and for Linetti in particular. He replaced Valerio Verre at half-time, and Linetti is only about 22 years old, but he brings a lot of energy to the team. He's a hard-working player, helps out defensively, and based on the second half on the weekend, he showed that he can contribute to going forward, and that goal to seal the win for the Doriani was an excellent strike. Prats with that pass, and then from the tightest of angles, there wasn't much space between Berisha and the far post, but he still managed to squeeze the ball in from that angle. So it was a fabulous strike. And hopefully this means Barreto is benched for good, because Linetti's got a bright future as well as Pratt, and Barreto, he's 33 and he's just too much of a workhorse, and his touches are heavy too. So I think stick with the young ones. They got the technical ability. They have age on their side too, and I reckon it will be beneficial for Samp in the long term.
Yeah, I've mentioned it, I think, before, but I saw Samp in the summer. They played United here in Dublin. I was really impressed. Wasn't expecting much from them at all, given the players they lost this summer. But since then, I've kind of been keeping an eye on them because I really like what Gianpaolo's doing there. Nick, do you think they can be the surprise team of the season? Someone said to me on Twitter that Samp this year are the Atalanta of last year, but they're not going to finish fourth, right? So they can compete for Europa League, though, right?
Yeah, I certainly think there's a Europa League place up for grabs and probably not much else. And I think actually, Kat, Vito and I discussed this a couple of weeks ago, and I think pretty much all of us said Samp or Atalanta would be the favourites for that, in front of the likes of Fiorentina or Torino. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to write off Atalanta just yet. I still think they're doing some special things, and I'm just trying to.
I taught you well.
I'm just trying to put a smile on your face, Connor.
I taught you well, my friend.
No, but yeah, them two are still the definite picks for me. Torino just don't seem to be consistent enough, and the defense has still got the same old struggles. So, and Fiorentina, maybe they could provide a dash and surprise us all. They are showing signs here and there, so maybe you could throw them in as well. But no, Sam's in terms of being a surprise, I think, yeah, compared to last season, Sam's just improved so much.
Yeah, well, I think that'll just about do it for us. One thing I want to mention just before we leave, we're not going to talk about it, but the Serie B table at the moment, right? They're 9 games in, and 10 points is the difference between first place and bottom place. It's amazing. Serie B is so good. I think it was even 7 points before this weekend, but we'll get some Serie B updates as the season goes on for sure.
Watch out for Foggia.
Watch out for Foggia. It's all about Parma at the moment, isn't it? Let's hope Parma can.
Foggia's coming from the bottom. They're gonna.
Yeah, they're 19th at the moment, so it's
not it's good. It's good. It's all close. A couple of wins, I'll be in first.
They're 19th, but they're only 5 points off second. So
there you go.
The dream is alive.
They're right up there.
Guys,
well, there are a few coaches there that they've got very attack-minded philosophies. So Zeman is the obvious one at Pescara, but Stroppa was a player under Zeman at Foggia in the 90s, and he's coaching Foggia now. There's a guy called Roberto Venturato who got Cittadella promoted more than a season ago. He's very attack-minded. Sandro Pocchesci, who came from Rende in Lega Pro, now he's at Ternana. He's another attack-minded coach. So there's a lot of this pragmatism that's getting phased out of Italian football. And in Serie B, there are a few of these coaches that have a more attack-minded approach, or they're more cavalier than the predecessors. So that's what I really like about Serie B. And of course, you've got teams like Parma, Venezia, Cremonese, who've been in the Serie A in the past, and they were there during the glory days of the 90s. So I think that adds some extra appeal too. So for a second division, Serie B is worth watching.
All right, Vito, I think we found the topic of discussion for your first article this week, and it's Serie B's attack-minded coaches. So thanks for giving me that one. Give it to me.
I'll do it, yeah.
Wednesday, yeah? That works.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
Right, Vito, while we're with you, tell people where they can find you on social media and that.
Well, you can come to my fan page, have a look there on Facebook. Otherwise, my Twitter handle is @VitoCDoria.
And Caterina, where can they get you?
You can find me on Facebook as Caterina Mirra, or on Twitter, Caterina Mirra.
Nice and simple. Nick is at Nick Said Carroll on Twitter, and he also has a Facebook page at Nicholas Carroll Journalist. I'm on Twitter at Conor Clancy. We are on Twitter at Serie A FFC and Facebook at Forza Italian Football. But most importantly, if you like what we do and you like us, you like Vito, you like Kat, we know you don't really like Nick, but you can, if you really like what we do, you can give us as little or as much as you can afford to give us on a monthly basis. $1 or $2 even makes a big difference. Nick is not happy. Just head over to patreon.com/Forza Italian Football, and the frown will be wiped off Nick's face. Nick, do you want to fire back?
No, I'll be the bigger man. Come in, take your duties for 2 weeks, and I get treated like this. Unbelievable.
All right. You can stop crying. So, guys, it's good to be back. Thank you to everyone. Jax, as ever. Stephen, welcome along. Kieran, all of you guys in the comments section. It makes things easier. So we'll be back same time again next week. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Leave us a nice review. But until then, all that's left to say is ciao for now.
Ciao.
Ciao.